Welcome to Epic African Myths, where legends breathe, kingdoms rise, and the voices of our ancestors echo through time. Tonight, we journey into the heart of Africa's greatest tales. The desert awoke with the rising sun. Golden light spilled across dunes that stretched endlessly, where shadows traced patterns like sacred writing in the sand. A single caravan cut through the horizon, small against the vastness of creation. And within that caravan rode a name destined to echo for millennia, Makeda, Queen of Sheba. Hers was no ordinary journey. It was a pilgrimage of the mind and spirit, through dust and flame, toward a truth she could not yet name. Far beyond the desert, Makeda's kingdom rose from the Ethiopian highlands. Stone palaces crowned the ridges, terraced fields nourished her people, and bustling markets overflowed with color, ivory, silks, frankincense that perfumed the air. In her courts, wisdom was prized above wealth. Yet even amid splendor, her heart sought something greater. She ruled with strength, yes, but she longed for answers that no crown could give. She was a queen who wanted to understand life itself. She was radiant, skin deep as polished ebony, robes of white and gold, jewels glinting like stars. Yet it was her eyes that held the kingdom. Calm, piercing, and filled with thought. To her people, she was mother and lioness, ruler and protector. But behind her serene gaze, questions burned. Was there wisdom greater than kingship? Was there truth beyond her throne? Makeda felt her reign would not be complete until she found out. The answers came on weary feet. Caravans arrived from the north, camels bent low under sacks of incense, gold, and salt. But what captured the queen's attention was not their wares, but their words. They spoke of a king in Jerusalem, Solomon, whose wisdom was said to flow from heaven itself. He judged disputes with riddles, and his counsel was sought from Arabia to Egypt. Makeda listened, and her mind, sharp as the desert wind, decided she would see him herself. At dawn, her palace stirred. Servants loaded camels with silks and ivory, gold hammered into ornaments, spices rare enough to perfume miles of desert. Guards sharpened spears, adjusting polished armor. Musicians tuned harps and drums for the long road. And high above it all, Makeda watched. Let Solomon see the wealth of Sheba, she declared. But more than that, let him see my mind. Her words carried over the courtyard like a command to destiny. The journey tested all. Burning sands, scorching winds, the sun a merciless tyrant. Yet the caravan pressed forward, shimmering in heat like a mirage. Raiders threatened, scorpions prowled, but Makeda did not falter. Each step, each dune climbed, was fueled not by gold but by resolve. This was more than a royal procession. It was a queen's search for wisdom. And nothing, man, beast, or desert, would stand in her way. When night fell, silence reigned. The desert revealed a sky littered with stars, brighter than the fires of men. Makeda sat by the embers, her face calm but her thoughts restless. Did Solomon, far away, gaze at these same constellations? Was his wisdom written in the heavens, or carved from the earth? The stars gave no answer, but they bore witness to her journey, as if waiting to see what destiny would unfold. At last, the golden walls of Jerusalem rose before them. The city shimmered in the evening light, its gates alive with merchants, worshippers, and the scent of incense. Crowds gathered to see the queen from the south, her caravan trailing like a river of wealth. Makeda entered with head high, not to conquer but to question. For she carried treasures, yes, but her true offering was curiosity. In the palace courtyard, beneath pillars gilded by the sun, stood Solomon. Robes of crimson, crown of gold, eyes steady as still water. Makeda approached, regal yet unbowed. She bowed not as subject to sovereign, but as seeker to sage. And Solomon bowed in turn, honoring her as an equal. Two worlds met that day, Africa and Israel, queen and king, wisdom calling to wisdom. That night, lamps glowed in the banquet hall. Fruit, bread, and wine covered the tables, but the true feast was in their words. Makeda tested Solomon with riddles sharp as thorns. "What is stronger than steel, yet fragile as a whisper?" she asked. Solomon replied, "The tongue." She pressed him with puzzles, he answered with parables. They debated until the oil burned low, their words weaving a tapestry richer than gold. But wisdom was not all they shared. On a palace balcony, lanterns swaying in the breeze, they laughed. Laughed not as monarchs, but as souls who carried crowns heavy with duty. For a moment, Makeda was not queen, and Solomon not king. They were simply two people who understood each other's burdens, and found joy in the meeting. But dawn cannot be delayed. With camels repacked, Makeda stood at Jerusalem's gates. Solomon watched, silent. No words could capture the bond born of riddles and nights under stars. She bowed once more. He raised his hand in blessing. And the queen departed, carrying not just gifts, but something greater, wisdom that would reshape her reign. The desert greeted her once again, but now it felt different. Each step homeward was lighter, though the sands were no less harsh. Makeda turned once to look back, Jerusalem glowing faint in the distance. She carried no regret, for she had found what she came for, not treasures, but truths that no wealth could match. When she returned, her people gathered in joy. Markets bustled, banners waved, music filled the air. And Makeda stood before them, not just as ruler but as teacher. Justice deepened, prosperity flourished. She shared the wisdom she had gathered, planting seeds that would grow long after her reign. At sunset, she often stood on her balcony, gazing over rivers and valleys bathed in gold. Her story was not only of wealth or power, but of a queen who dared to cross deserts for truth. And long after her footsteps vanished from the sands, her name endured, Makeda, the Queen of Sheba. The world remembers her still not for her riches, but for her wisdom and the courage to seek it. You have been listening to Epic African Myths, where history and legend entwine. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe to keep the fire of our ancestors burning bright. Until the next tale, walk with wisdom and carry our stories forward.